begin today's presentation by introducing our speakers, Christopher Anderson and James Provence. Christopher Anderson is the product marketer or project manager for the LexisNexis Firm Manager application, a web-based practice management system that keeps the attorneys and staff of small law firms connected to all the details of their clients, cases, matters, and firm business. Christopher is an attorney, and prior to working with LexisNexis, he was the managing partner of a full-service law firm in Georgia. He was also served as an assistant district attorney in New York City and in Georgia. Mr. Anderson was also Associate General Counsel and Director of Client Services for Real Legal, a legal software company. Christopher has presented at various state bar associations, Law Bulletin Ethics Conference, National CLE Conference, ABA Tech Show, and draws several hundred to webinars where he presents various topics, including running a law firm, effectively using technology and leveraging staff, and technology and trends. And now for James Provence. After earning his BA from Westmont College and his JD from the University of Iowa, James Provence began a small-town law firm in the Seattle area. For the 20 years, he was focused on domestic relations matters, handling everything from child support issues to complex divorce cases. James currently works as a mediator using his legal knowledge and mediation skills along with his passion for technology to help parties reach reasonable conclusions in disputes. In 2007, looking for a better way to organize his notes for cases, James stumbled upon tablet PC technology from Microsoft and discovered OneNote. He founded Tablet Lawyer to bring tablet technology to the legal profession. He frequently presents at technology seminars across the U.S., helping lawyers and other legal professionals understand and leverage hardware and software to increase organization and productivity. And now I will turn this presentation over to Christopher and James.
Thank you, Julia. Really appreciate the introductions. Welcome, James, and welcome to all of our participants. I really appreciate you taking the time to join us in this presentation today. The format of the presentation will be that I'm just going to spend a little bit of time with you. As Julia mentioned, I'm a product manager over here at LexisNexis. And then James is going to spend a little bit more time with you with some great tips and tricks for helping you find greater productivity and in managing your firm. But so my job today really is to set the table a little bit in this topic of finding the 25th hour, a how-to for lawyers. I think we all understand, and I think you got from the introduction from Julia, both James and I come at this from the experience of having practiced law. I built a law firm in Athens, Georgia, doing various practice areas. James built a practice that focused on family law matters, and so we've both lived through the and most of what we've learned, I'll speak for myself anyway, has been through doing it the wrong way first and learning better ways and to be more efficient and to be able to grow a practice through working, as we all say, smarter, not harder. But an integral part of finding more time throughout the day is to look in your practice, in your day-to-day practice, for ways that you're duplicating effort. You can do this by looking for tasks that are repetitive, that could be automated. Look for bottlenecks, where there are things that have to go through one person to get done, and to find ways to streamline the information and the data that you have to manage. And technology can play a huge part in helping to do that. There are just simply tools today that were not available. Heck, I mean, we talk often about 20 or 30 years ago. There are some really powerful tools today that weren't really available for lawyers in small law firm practice 5 years ago, and certainly 10 years ago. The ability to track all of your client matter activities in calendars and have that all synchronized online in things like Microsoft Office 365 or in actually purpose-built case and matter management software applications really give attorneys power to streamline and to eliminate duplication of tasks and to stay on top of things that they didn't have just a short time ago. Document management is another area that has really come a long way. But of course, just having technology that works for you, that you can use to help eliminate that is not always the most efficient. So there's no magic pill about technology. There are lots of solutions, some for the legal market, some not, that take care of one thing like document management or one thing like managing your calendar. But some law firms prefer to have software that combines the solutions and into one, and even more preferably into a web-based solution that they can access from anywhere at any time. And that's where I want to sort of set the table a little bit for us as we go through this presentation, in making sure that we have the best understanding of the tools that we can apply, and whether or not the cloud or using web-based solutions makes sense for us. Then I'll hand the presentation over to James, who will share some practical tips that will save you time or get back time that you've lost through inefficiencies in your practice. The first thing to cover is simply to get some definitions behind us, because there's an aspect that I've just been talking about, web-based computing, which is the new buzzword that's around is the cloud. And so the question is, what is it? And we hear terms like cloud, like web-based computing, like SaaS, all of which are really describing more or less the same thing. The cloud has been with us for a really long time. While we talk about it as something new, it really isn't all that new. If anybody, and we do this presentation sometimes in front of a live audience, and I get a show of hands, and typically if when I ask this question, who among you remembers CompuServe, which was a service available in the late 70s and early 1980s, I get a few hands. But then when I ask about America Online, the hands shoot up. And that America Online was simply a service that you dialed into where your email, where you could save or send and receive email among other people that were on America Online, which was the internet at the time. And that when you disconnected, you didn't have those anymore. And that was cloud, or it was the version of cloud that existed back then. So put simply, today, cloud is simply a style of computing where the software that you use, in other words, the programs, whether it be Microsoft Word, Microsoft Office, or some case and manner management software, or something, or Google, is where that software, where the storage, the place where you store your documents, where you store your files, the processing power, where the actual computing happens, and other computing services are provided to you over the internet. These things don't happen on your computer anymore. They happen on the internet and are accessed via a web browser or mobile application. And again, AOL was one old example of that. We've had things like application service providers 10, 15 years ago, and today we're talking about cloud computing. But it's simply computing that happens somewhere else. In a very large sense, it's returning to the way computing was a long, long time ago, with a lot more power and a lot more user-friendly applications. What does that mean to you, and what kind of features does that provide? Well, cloud, many people use, in talking about this, talk about SaaS solutions or cloud-based solutions, and use those terms interchangeably. But the features that we can think about when we talk about cloud computing that differentiates it from having something installed on your computer is that a cloud service can be turned on and off at any time. So in other words, with most cloud solutions, you don't have to buy a bunch of software and install it on your computer, and then if you want to change to something else, you've got to uninstall that and install something new. Cloud computing services can typically be, you can go onto the web, find the service that you want to use or the software that you want to use, and sign up, and you're just simply on. Nothing to install, nothing further to do. And again, if it's not a service that you're pleased with, you simply turn it off. Kind of like, cable television, if you will, or possibly your electric service. You don't, in talking about electric service, no expertise is needed. You don't have to be an electrician to have your electricity turned on at your home. And similarly with cloud computing, you don't have to have the expertise of installing software to use cloud computing. You simply sign on online. Updates are delivered automatically, nothing to install. It's scalable, which means that you can add more users, add more storage when and if you need it. The costs are completely understandable. You pay for what you use. There's no unexpected cost of a server crashing or needing to install extra hard drives in your own services. Backups and online guarantees are handled all through the service level agreement that you have with your cloud service provider. But cloud, I often tell people, I'm an advocate of online computing. I believe that doing your computing online, particularly for lawyers and small law firms, is greatly beneficial. But I don't advocate that people just go out there and get some cloud. It's not a panacea. It's not a magic pill. So the first thing that you have to do is understand why it is you want to do that. So a lot of different things could happen in your firm. You could have a change in personnel. You could have a computer problem. You may need to upgrade what you have, or you want some more capabilities. Whatever it is, your solution that you choose should solve important problems or jobs for you. And once you understand that it will, you need to understand three things about that. How is the data protected? What is the data owner, or who owns the data? And how is the availability defined? Data protection is simply, is the data protected from being seen, used, and abused by other people? My grandfather, and I come from a sailing family, my grandfather would often say something which I don't think was unique to him, but would say that a sailboat in the harbor is safe, but that's not what sailboats are made for. And similarly with a computer, we can make computers completely safe, but they don't become very useful. And so the question really is what can be provided by the cloud service provider better than what you can do? And the answer for almost everybody is yes, clearly and absolutely. You know, a lot of people who are wary of the cloud worry about it from the data protection point of view. But when you really dig deep into how is your particular data protected, how are your computers protected, the question becomes a little bit more easy to understand, in that individuals and even small to medium-sized law firms can't afford anywhere near the kind of security or level of security that's provided by a good cloud service provider that's providing the industry standard data security that is audited and checked and backed up all the time. Needing to understand things like, is the data encrypted as it goes up there? Do they have environmental security? Do they test it? Do they monitor it? If they use third parties, do they monitor them, and what kind of internal controls do they have? To understand the answers to these questions, there are some great pieces of shorthand that we can use, some third parties who certify what data service providers and cloud service providers do. They can be certified as a SAS 70 Type 2 provider, which tells you about their data center security. Trustee lets you know that their privacy standards would meet your privacy standards under the Model Rules of Professional Conduct, which are undergoing suggested revisions, by the way, from the American Bar Association, who's conducted their Ethics 2020 review and is making recommendations for changes to the model rules to accommodate some of these new technologies. eTrust, SysTrust, TrustWave all help you to understand that the service providers are meeting various requirements set forth by these organizations, and so that you don't have to become an expert in security, but understand that if they subject themselves to and are certified by these third parties, that they've gone a long way to meeting any of those concerns. Another important concern to think about is data ownership. And what this means is making sure that your obligations under the Model Rules of Professional Conduct regarding confidentiality and privilege are honored and are not incompatible with those parties with whom you do business as cloud service providers. A lot of cloud service providers do a great job of this, and many of them do not, and it is important to know the difference. And I would argue that one thing that attorneys do have a responsibility to do is to read the terms and conditions of their data service provider. Typically, the terms and conditions documents that you agree to with a simple click are, as I said, are documents you should be reviewing, and are not terribly lengthy or difficult to review, even if you're not an expert in technology. And again, I would argue that it's important to understand those. To understand things like, what are their policies when government comes knocking asking for data? Can you get your data back when you want it or when you cancel? What do they do with third parties? Can your data be used internally? And the reason I suggest that terms and conditions should be reviewed is that some of them can be quite surprising. I'm reviewing some myself online. These are terms and conditions that are available right in the middle of services, and these are for services that I would argue, or that I would tell you, are designed and widely used by consumers, and unfortunately also used significantly by attorneys. And while I do advocate for cloud computing and do believe that online web-based services are really great services for attorneys to use, you do have to be careful to avoid services that include in their terms and conditions like that they're not responsible for loss or corruption of data or other harm that results from accessing their services, or that they reserve the right to associate all or a portion of your file with other files stored by other people. Or in the case of Brand Y, that when you put any information up on Brand Y's website, you give them a worldwide license to use, host, store, reproduce, modify, create derivative works, communicate, publish, publicly deform, and publicly perform, and display all that content. And yet they can restrict your ability to delete that information or to change the privacy settings. These are actual terms and conditions from non-legally focused cloud vendors, and I would argue that they do not meet lawyers' obligations under the Model Rules of Professional Conduct. A lot of good providers do, and so I don't intend to scare you away, just to say that you have to read the terms and conditions to make sure. And the third thing to think about is your data availability. Your cloud provider should be there when you need them, and you need to understand, again, from the terms and conditions, or when you talk to their sales folks, what do they do about guaranteeing uptime? Are there financial penalties for not? Do they have multiple data centers so that if one were to go down, you're still up and running? I'll give you a hint. A lot of them do not. And when we've had reports in the news about the data centers like Amazon going down, those who had multiple data centers, even multiple data centers with Amazon, were fine. Those who had single-point data centers were less fine. And if they do have multiple data centers, do they actually test the failover? And these are, again, great questions to ask to help you feel more comfortable that your data and your client's data is safe on the cloud. Again, when you consider moving to the cloud, you should do so with an understanding of what your budget is. Do the cloud service providers offer a trial period? What's the total cost of ownership over a year of doing that versus the total cost of ownership of using your own computers? Cloud can be very compelling when making that comparison. Is customer support included, and can you get training? Are there additional fees? Will they help you move your data from your system into their system? Will they integrate email? And finally, and above all, are they reputable players? Is this a company, if you're going to be trusting your data and your client's data to this company, is this a company that has been around and that you can feel comfortable will be around for a period of time? Additionally, when thinking more specifically, not just about cloud computing in general, but more specifically about practice management, you want to know, can they do global, can they handle good conflict of interest search across your data and help you search your data that's put on them in ways that would be much more difficult to do on your own computers? Do they have good access controls, and do they have good mobility solutions? I'm going to breeze right through some of these mobility solutions. I might come back and talk to them at the end. If you have questions about mobility solutions, etc., I'll be glad to come to those, but I don't want to shortchange James and his time. So without any further ado, now that I've given a little bit of a lay of the land of cloud computing and things to look for and be wary of, again with the admonition that at the end of the day is safer and more productive than what most anything any small or medium-sized law firm could do for themselves. I'll pass the ball to James to cover some good tips and tricks for greater efficiency in your law firm. So James, if you'll come online, I'm going to make you the presenter, and welcome you to the presentation.
Well, thank you, Chris. I appreciate that. So let me make sure that I have the floor here. Hold on one second. So you're going to pass it to me so that I can share my screen, is that right? There we go. Let me share my screen and minimize that. All right, we're up and running. Well, thank you very much, Chris, for the overview that you gave us. I think that's helpful to understand the components that go into cloud computing and really, frankly, the safety issues that you need to be looking at for your data. Today what I'm talking about is a solution that actually meets all of the criteria that you were just talking about. It is Microsoft Office 365, and the components of it are you can, as a subscription, you can get the latest Office installed on your computer, and frankly up to 5 computers per license. You get Microsoft Exchange in the background that handles all of your email. You also get SharePoint, which handles all of the storage of your documents. And then lastly, you also get Microsoft Lync, which is an online meeting service, and it's all included for the price of $20 per desk if you choose to select those components for this. So what I'm going to do today is walk you through how you can use Office and Office 365 to save time, and we all know that attorneys' time is money. So let's start with Microsoft Word. Lawyers and assistants often live in Word, and there's some things that you can do to save some time in that as well. So if you open up Word 2010 and you go over to the File section and you go down to Options, you can select Customize Ribbon or Customize Access Tool. Now, the ribbon is what you see right at the top here. So what people don't realize is that you can put the functions that you use most frequently in the ribbon or up here at the Quick Access toolbar so that they're available for you when you want to use them. You can take things that are currently there that you don't use and move them into a situation where you take them off of your screen. So this allows you to customize Word for productivity purposes and really saves you time when you're working in Word. Another thing that people need to realize is that by selecting this little arrow right here, you minimize the ribbon. And the purpose of that is to give you more screen real estate, and that's often a helpful tool to have. I personally like to see the ribbon because I like to see some of the options that give me some opportunity to do different things. How many lawyers cut and paste from other documents, from other lawyers or other documents that they've worked on in another case? And the answer is, I think lawyers and staff cut and paste every day in Word. One of the things that is not really understood very well is the options that you have when you're cutting and pasting. So I'm going to highlight this version or this line right here, and I right-click on it, and I'm going to copy this. Now, if I want to paste it somewhere, let's say I'm going to paste it down here, I can paste it in 3 different types of formats where I'm going to keep the text of it only, merge the formatting, or keep the source formatting. The reason that that's important is, let's say you actually are using a different document that has a different font. So I'm going to go ahead and copy this, and I'm going to come back over here, and I'm wanting that statement to be in here, but I do not want it to be in the font that was in there before. I can simply choose keep this text only, which is the A portion of it. However, if I keep the sourcing of the format, then it actually will keep whatever source I had taken it from. So that's a little time saver that you can, instead of having to go back and change the font later, you're able to do that as you roll. Now, another thing that you can do is a format painter. And so for instance, let's say I want this font used throughout the whole document. So I highlight the font and the size that I want it to capture. I click on Format Painter, and then I start painting all of these other things so that it comes into the same font and size that I wanted to use for the whole document. Metadata is something that most lawyers have now at least heard of what it is, and are informed enough to know that it's an issue that they need to avoid, but not very many people understand exactly how to avoid it. So I want to show you what it is, and as I'm getting there, I want to talk a little bit about metadata. Metadata is the hidden information about a document. It could be hidden changes in the document or hidden details about the document that you don't see on the surface. So for instance, what you see right here is just this sample letter. However, if I go over to File and on Info, and I look over here on the right-hand side, it tells me that this document was originally created in 2010. It was last printed, well, that doesn't make any sense. I guess last printed in 2007. Well, I guess it could if I had used a document originally. And the last modification was 9/12/2012. Now, in addition to this, there can be things such as, let's say I'm telling an opposing counsel that my client is willing to accept an offer of $20,000, and but really my client is saying $10,000. So there may be discussions in the document where we have $10,000 and notes on it, you know, hey, this is really our bottom line, but let's start at 20 or whatever the case may be, and then you delete it thinking that it's gone, and then you send the document out. Well, it's possible that the opposing counsel is actually reviewing the details that you're not wanting to review. So what you want to do is scrub the document. So you go to File Info and check for issues and click on Inspect Document. Do this and then it will run it, and so it's telling us that there is data behind the scenes that are there. It's got some headers and footers and information in there, as well as details, personal information about the document. You can then remove these and clean the document up prior to sending it out. Additionally, if you go File Info and Permissions, you can set restrictions to the document that allow you to control whether edits are made or whether it can be considered a final document and make it a read-only document. And those types of transactions, I think, are very important to do when you're saving the information for a client and passing it on. Lastly, in this little back door area of File Info, you can manage versions of the document that have been there through autosave. So how many times have people been in a situation where you don't save something and you want to recover something that was unsaved? Historically, we had to just wait until when we opened up Word, it popped up with what was the latest version. Well, here it actually allows you to go back in time to different versions depending upon the time that the autosave took place. So those are some Word tools. I want to quickly go over to track changes, something that is not often used but should be used, I think, more frequently. This allows you to edit a document, and if you click on Track Changes, it will track who's doing what change so that it's highlighted, and it draws attention to actually what the change was. Something that shouldn't be lost is by clicking on Change Tracking Options. You can click here, you can go through exactly what type of information is reviewed and saved, and you can determine everything from color to the type of strike-through that is there to track that information. Once you get the track changes, as the other person's reading through the document, they can click on Accept and move to the next thing, so it just prompts the person to review each change individually. If there's a spot that is not agreeable, then you click on Reject and move to the next change. Another thing you can do is compare documents. This is where you have two different versions of a document. You open up one version and compare it to the other, and it combines out into a third document that allows you to see exactly what the changes were. I think it's a fantastic tool that is underused and, quite frankly, I think saves a lot of time. Lastly, in Word, I just want to show you watermark. Page layout. So a lot of times we have situations where we need to send out a proposed order to the court, or you know, a draft version. So you go Page Layout, Watermark, and click on it, and click on Custom Watermark. And this is where you can determine exactly what it's going to be. And I'm going to do something text, and I'm going to do proposed, and I want it semi-transparent, and I want it diagonal. And I'm going to apply this document or this watermark to it. So now when each page is looked at, the watermark of proposed is there so that everybody knows this is the proposed order or whatever document it is. Removing the watermark is very easy. Just click on watermark, remove the watermark, and it's gone. Now, Word ties in with something that is truly phenomenal, and this is basically your library or cloud storage facility called SharePoint. Now, I'm going to hop over to SharePoint, and this is something that a lot of lawyers get a little leery of, and that is storing documents in the cloud. How safe is it? Will I have the access to it? Does Microsoft review the data? And the answer is no, they don't review the data. You own the data. Microsoft does not access your data. And in fact, the SharePoint is HIPAA certified, so even hospitals are able to use the document. And I think, frankly, if we look at standards of HIPAA versus even legal confidentiality standards, I don't think that HIPAA is going to be anything harder to meet than when compared to the options that lawyers would look at for confidential information. So this is an example of how this works. I've clicked on Seminar right here, and I've set up a custom library. In my mediation practice, I allow clients and their attorneys to have access to the mediation deal room that I'm working with the clients on. So I allow them to add agenda items. They have access to the library of documents. They can review them. I can set it to where they can check the document out and make changes, but it keeps the version history. I can set it where it's read-only. Decisions that are made, just to keep the parties moving forward, is there. We can add tasks. And the great thing about it is that it's completely secure and private to whoever we're allowing access to this deal room. That's something that I'm seeing a lot of lawyers that are adopting Office 365 hop into, to upload documents for discovery, giving an opposing counsel the ability to download the documents themselves, or to allow clients to work collaboratively with you on the document. You can set it up to where the library is such that you check out the document and only one person can have it, or you can have multiple people working on the document at the same time. Just click on the library here and just give you a quick example. And by the way, you can upload everything from a PDF document to a Word document to a picture or whatever you're wanting to do for your data. You click on the arrow, and I'm going to check out this document, and it's going to be in my local drafts, and I now see that it's checked out. I go over to my local drafts, I open up the document, and it's there. And if I click on File, you can see that I have the ability, after I do the changes, to check it back in. So I'm checking this document back in the library. I'm not going to make any version comments to it. Click OK, and it's uploading it back to the cloud. Click on it again, and it's now removed from the local library. It's now back up in the cloud, and if I refresh that, the document shows that it's checked back in. So Word really ties in with SharePoint, and SharePoint takes lawyers to another level with the ability to collaborate with documents, to control the versions of documents, to have all of the history of, I did give you, Mr. Client, that draft, and you reviewed it, and all of the information about it is contained in this library. And again, granting permissions to an individual document, to a whole room, or to whatever portion of SharePoint you want somebody outside of your organization to use, you control it. Now, the other thing that people live in is, as lawyers and in staff, live in Microsoft Outlook. This is the epicenter of most communications that lawyers do these days. What Microsoft Office 365 provides is Exchange, which allows you as the lawyer and staff to see all of your email, whether it's in your phone or on your computer or just in the cloud. You're able to have it automatically and wirelessly synced up. So if you're at court and you have your phone, it could be an iPhone, an Android phone, a Windows phone, a BlackBerry, it doesn't matter. It's agnostic in terms of the type of phone it is, but it's connected to your Exchange server, which hosts your email, your calendar, your contacts, and things like this. If you're at court and you add something to your calendar, you're able to, within just a few seconds, look at your computer at the office and it shows up there. If you have an email that you reply to on your computer and then you go mobile and you're on your phone, it will show up in the sent column on your phone as well, wirelessly. It shows up in your inbox as it was replied to as well. Now, what's really cool about Exchange is you can allow access to your calendar or your contacts, or get the contacts from your assistant that does all the typing of the detailed information about the client, and you're able to share these things without having to email and invite every single time. You can cede permission and control to another person to actually help you manage your calendar. So when you add something to the calendar, you know that your assistant is aware of it automatically because he or she has access to your calendar. So a couple of other things I want to show on Word before we hop to some other productivity tools in Outlook or in Office is similar to Microsoft Word. If you go to File and Options, you can customize the ribbon and the toolbar just like you can do that in Word. And also, similar to Word, you can click on the arrow and that allows you to maximize your real estate and minimizes the ribbon. Something that I get a lot of questions about is how the heck do you stop that little ding from going off every time you get an email, or you get that little opaque notification on the bottom right telling you have an email, and who it's from. So the way to do that is you click on File, Options, and then click on Mail, and then you go down to Message Arrival. And this is where you can say, I do not want the sound to play, I do not want the desktop alert to play as well. So that's where you make those changes. Now, in addition, in this area, you can click on Signatures, and you can create a signature in this section as well. Now, if you look at my calendar over here on the right, I actually have 3 months of calendar, and I find that as a lawyer and as a mediator, I have always wanted to know more than just 1 month. In order to get there, if you right-click in this area and click on Options, it gives you the option to put in more months. So the standard is 1, but I have 3. You can have appointments that are coming up show over here. You can have your task list showing up over here. I choose not to have those things, but I do want the 3 months. So that just gives you a productivity boost of having to click through a calendar. Instead, you can see it right there and click to whatever day you're wanting to look at. Quick Steps. New to Office 2010 is a thing called Quick Steps. If you click on it, it allows you to set up automatic functions with 1 click. So let's say you get an email from a client and you want your assistant to get the email, set an appointment, and do some other tasks. You set up exactly what needs to be done, including the text that goes to the person that you're sending this to. And then when you get an email that fits that criteria, you just click on that particular item selection, and it does automatically whatever you've programmed it to do. Huge time saver, because there's a lot of times where you have repeated tasks and actions that take place. Quickly want to just hit on rules. This allows you to do things like delaying your email to be sent. If you're a little maybe hot-tempered in some responses, then you want to make sure that you're actually okay with the content of your email that's going out. You can set a delay to occur. You can also set it up to where you have automatic rules where if you get an email from some particular person, it goes to a particular folder. Another thing that I like to show is if you right-click on any of these items, it will open up that particular item in a new window. So I'm going to click on this, and now I have my email here and my calendar here without having to go back and click this. And of course, in Windows 7, you can have them side by side with one portion on the right and one portion on the left. Over here on calendar permissions, this is where Exchange kicks into high gear when you're able to share your calendar with different people, and you can give them exact permissions that you want. So for instance, they can only read your calendar, or they can delete appointments on your calendar, or make appointments on your calendar. You choose what you want it to be. Want to quickly move over to Microsoft OneNote. It's my favorite application. I love teaching lawyers how to integrate it into their practice, whether they're a litigator or a transactional lawyer. I have mine synced up, as you see it's syncing up right now, to SharePoint. So I can invite other people to collaborate with my notes, and it updates these notes so that whatever I'm doing, the other person sees, and whatever they're doing, I see. So this is a perfect case where, for instance, you may want your assistant and you to have a combined notebook that you share in order to make sure that you are tracking things together. One of the things that I love about working with OneNote, particularly on a tablet PC, is your ability to actually write on the screen. So let's say we're wanting to call Bob, and as you can see, we have the handwritten note there. Now, this document is searchable in your handwritten format because, as you can see, I'm searching for the word Bob, and it's clicking that it's right here. It's highlighting. And again, that's just in my own handwritten format. This function allows an OCR to take place for any pictures as well. So I'm going to click over to CNN and just open up a very controversial play that took place last night involving the Seahawks, and I'm in the Seattle area, so I probably have less heartburn about this than maybe some others. Let's see, it's not rendering yet. Let's see. While it's rendering, I'm going to go back. Oh, here it is. So if we go down here and click on something that just makes a screen clipping of this. So I am going to, oh, my little OneNote icon is missing right now. What you can do, though, is if you did a screen clipping and placed it into OneNote, very similar to the situation where in the back end it's translating your handwritten documents into typed and searchable, making it searchable. It does the same thing with a PDF document. It's just a scanned document. Put it in there and you can now search it with for words in particular, even if it's a non-searchable PDF document. You can do it with a web clipping for a case for some quotes that you find. What I also want to show you is the ability of OneNote to take your handwritten notes and convert them to typed with one click. So you're able to do that as well right there. OneNote also has tags, which are up here. So if I'm in a deposition and I'm wanting to do a follow-up question, or I have a to-do to call Bob, I can click on this and it sets it right there. later I've gone through and I have other notes. Now I just need to decide, are there some tasks that I still need to do? And I'm going to search my notebook for this. I need to call Bob. I can click on it there. I've called Bob. Check it off here. It's now checked off there. So this allows you to drop fewer balls, to keep things moving forward in a very busy practice, and to stay on top of all of your items. The other thing that's really great about this is you can take this and make it an Outlook task. I'm going to do this one that's due today. So then if I go over to my tasks and I click on it and look at tasks, it has the Call Bob, and it has a link to the notes in OneNote. So even if OneNote was closed, if I double-clicked on this, it would take me over to that document. So from this, there is just such a great seamless connection between OneNote and Outlook that integrates very well. Last thing about OneNote that I'll just show you is that with regard to view, you can pick different types of graph paper or lines so that you're able to write your notes, convert them to typed if you want, or keep them in your own handwritten format. It remains searchable regardless of what you choose. Lastly, I've got about 1 minute left. I want to talk about Microsoft Lync. This is a fantastic tool that allows you to, within your organization, or if you federate it out to other organizations, know availability of frequently contacted people. From there, I know that this person named Jason is available, and I can do a link call to him. I can send him an instant message. I can create a meeting with him or with people outside of other people outside my organization, like clients. I can share my desktop. I can do a video conference. I can do, I'm just going to open up a meeting now and just show you what is going to happen. Do not join audio. And if you click on sharing, you can share your desktop, a program, a PowerPoint, a whiteboard, a poll, just show you what a whiteboard looks like real quick. This is something that the other person is able to see, and you're able to take this and just write your notes and do whatever you want with it as you're working in your meeting. I'll close out of this meeting here. And so that is a quick, and I mean very quick, overview of how you can use Microsoft Office, particularly leveraging it with Office 365 to improve your communications, your ability to get work done, and to frankly save you time, which you can use either at home with family or save it or use it for additional work. One thing I just want to mention is that I have worked with some Microsoft partners, a few different partners that I've customized a solution for them to work with lawyers and law firms. I've created a turnkey solution for them that includes an hour of training individually for each firm. And feel free to contact me and let me know if I can help you get connected with the person, so that if you say yes to Office 365, you don't have to do any of the back-end stuff. It gets taken care of for you, and you can move forward. So these are some partners that I've already got pre-screened and ready to roll as needed. Chris, I will pass this back to you and let you take over.
Thank you, James. Fantastic presentation. Thanks so very much. That brings us to the portion of the webinar where we can answer any questions that might be posted. So I believe my screen is now back up. And Julia, how are we doing on questions?
We are doing okay. I would like to thank both Christopher and James for their informative presentations. That is the conclusion of our presentation portion, and we will move on to questions. As a reminder, if you do have any questions, please feel free to ask them via the questions pane located on your webinar control panel. Our first question for today: is Dropbox as safe as SharePoint to use? I know many attorneys use it and was curious if I should also be using it.
The answer is no. It's not.
Yeah.
I'm sure, Chris, you agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Well, you go ahead and I'll chime in.
Yeah, what I would say is that similar, people need to understand that Google, for instance, will actually scan your emails for advertising opportunities. The level of security in something like Dropbox is not there. For instance, Microsoft has spent nearly $3 billion on the infrastructure for these geo-redundant data centers. It's HIPAA certified and compliant. It meets all of the European and U.S. standards, and frankly, it's the first business storage tool that's on the mass market that does so. So from my perspective, Dropbox is not a safe option for you to use. Chris, what are your thoughts?
I totally agree. Dropbox, and it's not. We talk about it. It sounds like we're kind of slamming Dropbox, and I don't think we are. Dropbox is a fantastic service for what it does, which is provides consumers with a really inexpensive way to store and share information. But the people who do that are not under any obligation under things like the model rules of professional conduct or ethical obligations to their state bars or to their clients to maintain that information confidentially and securely. And Dropbox is serving that market. They're not focused. Their terms and conditions are clearly not focused on the legal community, and so it's just not the right tool for the job. As regarding SharePoint, to the extent that SharePoint is housed or managed internally to a law firm, it can be a very secure system, and to the extent that it's hosted, it can certainly be very secure. But if you use a third-party hosting company for your SharePoint, you want to look at their terms and conditions too.
All right.
Any other questions from Julia?
Yes, there is. If you have SharePoint and Exchange through a ISP, would that conflict with 365's Exchange and SharePoint, or would it work with it?
Well, Office 365 is the solution that Microsoft is bundling together that allows the purchasers of that service to have Microsoft hosted directly. So if you have a different company hosting your Exchange and your SharePoint, then that would not be run through the Office 365. I would strongly encourage whoever has that situation to look at what the costs are for the two, comparing Office 365 to the other service, though.
If you get Microsoft Office 365, what will clients need to be able to work on or view documents?
I'm getting some feedback, and I don't think it's on my end. Could you repeat that question, please?
Yes. If you get Microsoft Office 365, what will clients need to be able to work on or view documents?
Well, if they get E3, which is what I recommend lawyers get, that's the SKU, the SKU that I'm muted, or am I unmuted right now?
You're unmuted. Sorry, James.
Okay. Yeah, somebody got me. Anyway, what you do is it comes with the actual on-computer suite, including OneNote, including Word, and frankly it includes a lot more than just those few items that we've covered. But what you're able to do also is, if you're not having access to your own computer with those things installed, then you're able to use web apps that come with it as part of this package. So you can go to SharePoint on somebody else's computer and edit documents in the web. And it's the productivity tool that is pretty remarkable.
Great. I can't add anything to that. That's a great answer. Thanks, James.
Now, it seems that some people are using both iPads and PC tablets in their office. Can you discuss integration from iPad to PC-based cloud computing, and are any additional apps necessary?
So I'll lead on that, and then James, please follow up.
Sure.
One of the beautiful things about cloud-based or web-based computing, SaaS computing, is it eliminates this whole concept of having to synchronize your services, having to keep your computers in sync. As we used to do when we had our Palm Pilots, or even more recently. When you're using cloud-based computing or web-based computing, all your devices, whether you're using an iPad or a computer, are accessing the same exact information which is being housed on the web. So it really doesn't matter what device you come at it from, and an additional benefit for that is that you're storing less information on your device. So that when everything's stored on the web, if you happen to lose your device, whether it's stolen or you misplace it, typically much less information is on it. That means much less information is at risk if you're just storing everything on the cloud.
Let me just add real quick that one of the great things about Exchange and SharePoint, so it's really agnostic as far as what device you're using it in. So if you want all of your email routed through your iPad or your phone, your iPhone, and it syncs up automatically, so that integration is there. The other thing is that you have access to the cloud storage documents. So it's Apple friendly for those people that love Apple. You can run SharePoint and Entourage or whatever you want connected to Exchange and SharePoint.
All right. And we do have a few more questions. However, we have run out of time to answer them. So if you have a question
I'm sorry,
that has...
Julia, I was just going to add... Okay. Sorry, Julia. I was just going to add one more thing to what James said, too. There's, for actual Office documents like Word and Excel and whatnot, there are for tablet and other such computing. For Windows tablets, Office is available, and on an iPad or whatever, there are programs that allow you to use Microsoft Word and Microsoft Excel type documents on the iPad and share them back and forth with your other devices using SharePoint or using other technologies as well.
All right, thank you, Chris. If you do have unanswered questions, we will try to email you an answer in the next few days. Sorry we could not get to all of those. That does conclude today's webinar, and I would like to thank our speakers for their expert advice on today's topic and to all of our attendees for taking time out of their busy days to join us.